And here we are for the Cowbell Podcast yet again with another extraordinary everyday runner and everyday human being. We are very blessed this time around to have Dale Pierce here with us. Now, some of you may have heard Dale's name mentioned in Mick Marshall's interview that we did with him back there at the end of last year. And that is because Dale was part of the same team that competed down there at the GPT doing the relay race. And we got to meet Dale, both Kelvin and I. And that's how obviously a lot of this has come about because Dale is a low vision adaptive runner and has been running blind now for a few years. Dale, welcome. Thanks for joining us. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, guys. Appreciate the opportunity to have a chat and sort of let everyone know my story. So yeah, it's going to be great.
Well,
Yeah,
with
it's
that in
great.
mind, mate, let's jump straight in. Tell us, tell us about yourself. Tell us your story, and we'll go from there.
Cool. So I've only been running very recently over the last pretty much 12 months. So prior to that, I was a chef, 30 hour or 80-hour weeks, 30 odd years in the industry, just grinding away, doing my thing. Ran my own business through that process. A lot of mentoring of young apprentices and things like that. And that's like a true passion to see an industry flourish in hospitality and do that. So I spent a lot of years training, mentoring, and I still do today a little bit as well with that. So it's just giving back to the industry, I guess, I was doing towards the latter part of my career. Um, so I think so, and things were going along swimmingly um, up until January of 2023. Pretty much it was a wake up one morning and I went to bed with a headache after a 15-hour day, give or take at work. Went to bed, headache, typical chef moment, threw down Panadol and Nurofen, thinking it'll be all good, the headache will go away. Um, you know, if I'm not dead, go to work type motion. And then woke up that morning and swung the legs over the bed and went, something's not right. And did the whole cover the eyes over and for about 5 minutes and went, I can't see out my left eye. Um, so it was
Wow.
pretty much a oh crap moment. A few other choice words came out at the same time. Um, Ended up in hospital at emergency at my local hospital, and within half an hour, they transported me to a different hospital with a better ophthalmology department. Um, Short answer was you're not going to regain sight in that eye.
Mm.
That was straight up. Like within hours, I had that diagnosis.
Within
Um,
hours.
Within hours, I had that, yep, we're not getting this back. Um, it was the technical terms, a central retinal vein occlusion, or a CRVO. So basically, I had a stroke in my eye. That's the layman's terms.
Mm.
So I'd had some pain overnight, as I say, the Panadol Nurofen thing, but I just didn't think anything of it. For those who wear glasses, I fronted with a pressure of 88. It's supposed to be under 20. So they were surprised I walked into hospital to start with, um, sort of thing. So the eye had basically fully blown out. The pupil had dilated and wasn't retracting at all those things. So that was a bit of a, couple of deep breath moments through that process. A lot of swearing, a lot of frustration and why me type thing at the age of 47. Um, so about 3 days later, went back to work because, well, they can't do anything for it. So, you know, they drugged me up and sent me off back to work. So that's all good. Um, Again, I had things to do. It was wedding season. I was contracted to a winery for some wedding work, so I was just like, you know what, I'm going back to work. So I fronted up that weekend for work.
And what
So
about your peers and your colleagues when you came back and said, "Look, can't see out of this eye," and how did then it affect work straight away?
yeah, so everyone knew pretty much day one because I called them all up and said, this is what's going on. I need a few days sort of thing but I'll be back for the weekend. They all had a bit of a freak out, going, will I be okay? And what's going on and all that. And I spent a couple of hours the night before my return to work. I actually went into work a day early, and when no one else was there, and actually spent about 2 hours learning how to turn right. So my left eye's the one that blew out, and because there's no peripheral, I couldn't. Like I just so used to turning left because I'm left-handed. I was like, I can't do that because I can't see what's coming. So I spent the best part of 2 hours learning how to turn right. Um, so it sounds silly, but it's
Not
the
at
only
all.
way to figure it out. And my spatial awareness of what's next to me and thinking where the other chef's going to be and in certain moments of the day so that I could cope. So, and then I rocked up to work on the Saturday. The funniest thing was about 10 songs into the playlist, I figured out that they were a bunch of arseholes, excuse my language. The entire playlist was about blind things or sight or seeing. Um, it was gold. So, and I just pissed myself laughing once I realized and went, cool, okay, good for you guys, let's go. So it was a fair laugh. And, I see that as a bit of a term of endearment because if they didn't sort of know me and know that I'd take a joke, that would have been pretty brutal, sort of thing. So that was a
Mate,
fair laugh.
I don't want to state the obvious, here, but what about handling knives?
Yeah,
Oh, that's
that's on
easy.
us.
I never look anyway. So, so 30 years in the job, you don't tend to look at your knives anymore anyway,
Uh,
sort of thing. So, and with one eye that worked well, I was still, depth perception was a little out, and obviously my peripheral was out. So I had to work on that. Um,
did,
So from there, went back to work, did my thing, was quite happy, kicking along, doing everything. The doctors had said, it's not, it happened in one eye at your age, it's not going to happen in two. And I was like, cool, no problems. So I ticked along in that process. I actually moved from Adelaide, where I was living at the time, to Ballarat, to help support my mum, who's oddly legally blinded herself. Um, Totally different condition. But I went, oh, yeah, be the good son. I'll move over and help her out. 3 weeks after I'd moved, started a new job. Everything was going amazing. And I was at work at 20 minutes before service due to start and I felt a pinch in the eye, in my good eye. And I went, uh-oh. And I looked down at my phone and it looked like someone had basically just shattered my phone on the bench. Like the entire screen just looked mottled.
Mm.
Um, I looked up at the wall clock, and I couldn't even see it. I was like, oh crap. So I knew what had happened. I knew it exactly. It had let go, but I still had some sight, sort of thing. So I went, we got to get through lunch. So I turned around because I was the head chef for that day, not in the whole venue, but for the day I was. Um, and so I turned to my coworker and said, let's just get through lunch. Let's figure it out. 5 minutes later, there was three managers standing there telling me to go, and helping me out. So that was the end of my chef career in the kitchen that very moment. So I haven't stepped foot back in a commercial kitchen to work since.
mm,
So I got to Melbourne to the Eye and Ear Hospital, which are the best when it comes to this type of stuff, um, and went through the process, all the tests. Um, they confirmed exactly what had happened again. Like it's done. It's doing what happened in January. But they caught it early enough because I was awake at the time. So that's probably saved me from being 100% sight loss
mm.
at this stage. Myriad of tests, all the rigmarole, and now we basically maintain my sight with it's degrading slowly, but we maintain what we can through eye injections and drops and tablets and all those type of things. So we just keep motoring along. I have an injection every couple of months now. It was every month for a while. So never pleasant to have a jab in the eye, but you know what, it keeps a bit of sight going. So we do that as long as the doctors tell me it works. So yeah, um, So that was May of 2023 that I was diagnosed legally blind. And I guess that's when life changed. I
Mm.
lost my job, lost my car, lost my independence in terms of being able to just be me and do stuff, and lost my sight, all of that, and lost the ability to support my mum 100% how I normally would. I still do greatly, but um, it hit home that I was like, oh crap, I can't just bang, I'm at mum's house in 5 minutes. It's I've got to get an Uber or a taxi, and there's process to get me anywhere now. Sort of thing. And we didn't know how long the site's going to hold out. The doctors don't know still. It could go in 5 minutes, it could go in 10 years. So we just don't know the answer to that. And we never will, I don't think, until it happens. So basically, they said cardio is going to help because the stroke is actually a blockage in the veins behind the eye. Nothing to do with the heart or anything like that. It's purely the veins in the eye are blocked. So do some cardio, it will help loosen them up. So I went and bought a treadmill, and as a chef who ate cake for the last 30 years, I was like, right, let's go. And everyone who knows me personally, they will just go, yeah, we get it. Because, that's, yeah, I love my cake. So,
Don't we all?
yeah, exactly. So I jumped on a treadmill and I started punching 10 to 15 Ks a day. Just walking, doctors wouldn't let me run at all. Just walk. After 6 months, I was starting to get bored and frustrated looking out a window I can't see properly out of on my treadmill. So I told my support work team I'm going to start running. I don't know, the doctors agreed, they signed off on it. So park run was the first adventure to that, to run outside for the first time ever. Um, so with that, I was introduced to my current support worker, Kel, who's my run guide. And for the very first time, we did a park run the first day we ever met. Um,
Wow.
and we walked it the first day with my cane. 48 minutes, I think we were for the 5K, but we were outside and we were doing it. So that was all good. Um, and I said, cool, you good for next week? And he's like, yep, let's go. And over the ensuing weeks, we started to not use my cane every step. We take little, oh, here's a straight section, let's not use the cane. Oh, the corners are coming up. Yep, I've got to put the cane down just so I'm safe, or slow down, whatever it was. And now it's seriously, I've mapped my local park run to the point that I could do it probably blindfolded on my own. So I know every step, every corner, every nuance that is there. I liken it to a race car driver, how they know each circuit well.
Mm.
So they hit the apex every single time. I can tell you that I put my foot on every apex exactly the same spot every single week because that's how it operates, sort of thing. And if I'm out of position because we're overtaking someone or something like that, it feels so weird. Like it's just abnormal. And I'm just like, oh, we're off, sort of thing. And I know exactly where we're out, sort of thing. So yeah. Um,
So in
so
that moment, and I know Kelvin probably will, he's way more technical than I am, so Kelvin might ask you a few more questions like that.
yeah,
But with that, this time frame that we're talking
yep,
about here from,
yep,
2023, and then obviously that you've gone through this experience to, but then
yep.
you're now talking about mapping it out blindfolded. I had to tell you, you don't need a blindfold, Dale. But anyway, um, cruel, but we were
No,
joking
true.
around.
Very
We were
true.
joking around
Very true.
before. It's true,
Yep.
but like, how quickly have you been able to adapt your senses, your other
Yep.
senses, to do what you're describing to us right now?
I guess a big bonus, and I've talked to my doctors about it, my psychologist, and a myriad of other people. 30 years in a kitchen being spatially aware and insanely spatially aware that you can feel people coming towards you and what they're doing, and just having that innate sense of where they are, that has helped. if I was a desk jockey for my entire life, doctors even said it'd be harder.
Right.
But because I've had that awareness of even feet position and hands and everything, the doctors believe that that's helped me a little bit. And a lot of the other side of that is a lot of me practicing. I get out to my local park on my own. When I first got my cane, I was out there on my own. I practiced and I practiced and I practiced, and just learn how to be aware of my surroundings while I've still got sight, and um, go from there. So it's challenging, I'm not going to lie. And when the sun hits the wrong spot and we're in full glare mode, and then jump into a shadow, I've got nothing. I wouldn't even see 3 feet in front of me, sort of thing. So there's moments that I'm near enough black, through and through. Wouldn't have a clue you're there unless you're in super bright whites type thing. And even then, that could be challenging. So, yeah, I guess the brain works in a wonderful way, Dave, and it just starts to go, what do I do? Um, Part of the other thing I've learned, which I didn't realize I had until a couple of months ago, I can isolate my guide's footsteps in a crowd. Like, I don't know why, but I can. And So, yeah, so as he's got a slight inclination on his left that I told him about, that he drags his left a fraction. But I can hear that in his footstep, sort of thing. So I sort of go, oh, that's him. That's so I hone in on those footsteps. So I look what I can see plus those footsteps plus my mapping abilities. Then we just keep tracking along. So yeah, so it's not unique, but because a lot of blind low vision people do echo sounding and those type of things. So it's a form of that.
That's amazing. Dale, I think very soon you can be his heart rate monitor. You can probably hear his heart
I,
rate.
I know when he's going fast because I can't see my watch. I wouldn't have a clue what speed we're going. And I sort of tell him, oh, we're going to run, 7-minute Ks or something.
Yeah.
And I know if we're doing 6:30s and I say, oi, come back here, sort of thing. And he's like, oh yeah, we're a little fast. Sort of thing. So I know exactly how fast we're going without even knowing, sort of thing. So I can tell. So yeah, it's just something we're getting used to and developing as we go because essentially I'm a year into running in
Mm.
public. So it's not a great deal of time. So I'm still learning my craft, not just as a blind, low vision person, but as a runner as well. I'm never going to be the best runner out there, and that's not the point. I'll get out there and be happy and enjoy life and enjoy running the community and pushing myself to some boundaries as well.
I want to come back to. I'm going to come back to this a little bit later. Your
Yeah.
relationship with Kel,
Yep.
and also the sensory stuff. But again, I'm honing in on this. It's been a year type thing.
Yep.
The tenacity
Yep.
that you're showing, mate. Like, is this something that you've always had
Yeah.
as a person? Like,
Yeah.
you
So
you haven't
I've
you haven't paused for a year and been in the lowest of low, and then gone a year later, someone slapped you around the face and gone, get out there, Dale, go and do
no.
this. Like you've gone back to work 3 days later after you losing sight in one eye, and then it's like then you tell us,
Yeah.
take us down that
I
road
I
because you're talking about mapping. You're
I
taking
guess
us on a journey here, mate.
yeah. So I guess I stand by a creed of wisdom, tenacity, and focus. So if as long as you've got some wisdom behind you of what's going on in life and what's happening to you, um, tenacity is just pure heart, like get in there and let's go. Which as a chef, I've as a person, but as a chef, I've had it in bucket loads for life. You get down and dirty in the kitchen. You go through hard times. It's not glamorous by any stretch in the majority of circumstances. So that's just you got to dig your heels in and go, sort of thing. And some days it's shit and some days it's great, sort of thing. So that's where I guess that's developed over the years, especially as a leader in a kitchen. There's you got to drag your team sometimes. Like it's hard work, but you got to be at the front pushing hard, not just getting them through, but getting yourself through. So that's part of it. And the other part is focus. If you know you've got a goal, what's stopping you, sort of thing. So I stand by that totally. And if you turn wisdom, tenacity, focus into an acronym, you get what the fuck, which so
Hang on,
if
repeat that again.
so wisdom, tenacity, focus, turn it into your acronym, WTF, which is what the fuck. So it works both sides of the coin. All right. Because I've had some very shit moments. And that's that part of it. And then I've dived back into my wisdom and tenacity and focus to get me through. So, and it's tattooed on the back of my leg so everyone can see it.
Oh, it makes sense now.
Yep.
Right, it's all making
So,
sense.
and look, in terms of when the second eye let go, Dave, I had a pity party for a week, and I was lost, 100% lost. I didn't know what to do. Tears every other day. I'm emotional about it now. You just don't know what to do. You're angry, frustrated, all those things, upset, everything going on. I was a shit to live with, not going to lie, because I was the type of person that, oh, something needs to be done, let's go. That's it. Just let's get into it. And I had to rely on other people to do things for me, like filling out forms for Centrelink and NDIS and all those things and basic stuff that was, I can still get around function at home, but I can't read enough of a form and write a form out. I can't write anymore because I can't see it enough to do it. So things like that, I had to rely on people. So that became very frustrating. And it took me probably 3 months or so to get back into that groove of I have to wait. Someone will help me, but I just might need to work on their time schedule. So, and I fully understand I was an absolute bugbear to live with. So yeah, it wasn't pleasant for my partner. So bit of a challenge. So yeah, but we persevered and we got through. So yeah, it's one of those moments.
Yeah, and I can imagine for everyone around you, but including yourself, you've been very
Yeah,
independent, and then you have to draw on that. You care for your mum, and all jokes aside, I know we're having a bit of a laugh here, but that's what it comes down to, and I like how you called it the pity party there, but you
yeah,
must have
it's
moments where it is still incredibly tough because you
oh
are
totally.
still learning to adapt to this new world.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And every time I front at the doctors and something's not quite right with my eye, or I notice it drop a fraction, I just like, oh, is this the day type thing. But every day I wake up, I look outside, and as long as I can see outside, for roughly what I can see, I go, cool, it's a good day. Do you know what I mean? Like I'll embrace it after that. But the day that I wake up and it's black, then I'll go, okay, that'll be a hard day. That'll be a hard 6 months, and then we'll regroup and figure out how to go again. But it might take me 6 months to regroup after that one. So one of the stats out there is and 40% of blind or low vision people end up with depression through isolation, because they just lose touch, sort of thing, because you can't go out with your mates as easy. You can't do all that. Like, it's harder to interact. You can't see facial expressions. You two are gorgeous, by the way. Um, you
I
know,
I did have a shower beforehand, man, just for
oh,
you.
awesome. But you know what I mean? Like, I haven't seen someone's face properly other than on a very close up on a screen in since May 2023. You know, you could stand 6 inches away from me and I still can't see it 100% properly. So, you guys walk past me in the street and I wouldn't know. So yeah, so it's a process to go through and something you learn to live with, sort of thing. So and adapt through. And it is, I'm not just an adaptive runner, I'm adapting to life. So yeah.
Incredible. So Dale, take us back to your journey. So obviously you have
Yep.
started running at Park Run, and
Yep.
and then at what point you decide to say, look, I can actually run a bit longer, like longer
Yep.
distance. And your first endurance race is the Ballarat Marathon, is that right?
Yeah, the half marathon at Ballarat, which
Half
was
marathon.
the April of 24. So
Yep.
4 months after I'd started running publicly. So yeah, look, I I'm one of those people that's driven by goals. So if I had no goal at all, would I get on the treadmill every day? No, because I'd go, what's the point? So I'm very much setting goals all the time ahead. And some of them are big, some of them aren't. But I sit there and go, right, can I run a half marathon?
Yep.
The answer is probably yeah. I don't know how long it's going to take me, but I reckon I can. So we went about going to that. So I said to my run guide, I said, Kel, are you good for it? And he's like, after a moment of, oh crap, he went, yep, let's go. So we started doing longer days on the treadmill. He was training himself privately out running and stuff to make sure he was up to speed with me because he hadn't done that distance,
Right.
in a long time. Um, so, and we went and did it, and you know, like, runs, walks, all that in between, and we got through a half marathon in April. So, but prior to that, and I think prior to that was Kosciuszko. I had the opportunity to go up to Mount Kosciuszko and do that as part of a group of blind low vision people. So it wasn't just me. And that was in March. And just to go up to Kosciuszko, we just did the thread bow to Kosciuszko, which is I think it's about 13K round trip, give or take. Um, and it's pretty, to be honest, I'll say it's easy because it's all um, graded like pathways, or majority of it is. So it's actually fairly easy underfoot, other than the incline. But we did it, and I was like, I can do that. I can do pretty much anything. You know, what's going to stop me if I can get on top of Australia? So 100%, we were all in on the half marathon. We smashed that out, and then as soon as that was over and the legs recovered, I said, "What's next?" Um, and off we went. I actually did what they call the bloody long walk, which is
Okay.
raises money for Moto. Only 3 weeks later, I went off and did that, and Kel wasn't available, so I just reached out to the local community that was doing it and said, "Can someone support me?" And next thing you know, someone's contacted me, and I joined their group, and they guided me for the day.
Oh,
And
that's
they were
awesome.
amazing, and I'm still in touch with them, and we're going to do it again this year. So, yeah, amazing people to help me out. So yeah, but yeah, it's 100%. I need to push myself, and that's part of the chef mentality, setting goals, and I found I used to get a rush when I was in the kitchen, is the easiest way to say it, from doing a big service or a wedding or whatever it may have been, um, and being able to push yourself in an event regardless of what time you plan to set, but to go, I'm in it and doing it, and I've made it to the start line and I'm giving it a crack. That's a rush in itself.
Mm.
So, so every time I finish one, I am lining up the next one if I already haven't. So yeah,
Dale, I love how you said you thought the cheese grater or the grate was easy up at Threadbow. Most able-bodied people can't even run on that easily without going A over T. So I love that you said that you found that easy.
I only
Bec-
walked it, Dave. I only walked it, but I still got up.
No, mate, even me walking it, I've had some issues. But anyway, so on that, and Kelvin just mentioned it before, you went from there, and obviously we met you then as as part of that team that
Yeah,
came down to GPT, and
yep,
you did leg two. So you did leg
yep,
two there, which is very different because it was through the night, and that was with the
yep,
Beyond Endurance team, the adaptive running team.
yep.
You're running through the night. So how do you run with Kel when you're doing
Right.
something like a trail like that?
Yeah. Okay. So, um, Kel is just an amazing dude. Simple as that. Like he's everything I've thrown at him, he's embraced for a start, and he's just gone, let's figure it out. Um, so a lot of it is we do, and I've posted about it before. Um, a lot of how we operate is from the gains that we do through the week and through park run of trust and communication and understanding and all of those things. So, um,
Because you say you map
so
parkrun, but you can't go out and map
I,
this.
no, so absolute trust is what it comes down to. So, we knocked out a 10K at Macedon a month or a couple of months earlier. Um, so that was our first ever trail run at Macedon, doing a 10K, and that was muddy and boggy and crap. And I actually the site dropped to a point that I could barely even see him 3 feet in front of me at one point because the fight or flight basically kicked in and everything just went blurry and I went, oh crap. And the last 3 or 4 Ks I could barely even see, even a lot less than I can see now. So we talked about that a lot about trust and listening to him explicitly and going, right, if he says do X, I have to stop, I have to do exactly that. Otherwise, I'm in danger. So we had that very open chat, very, very open chat about that. And we talked about how fast we could go, how slow we could go. Time wasn't going to matter at a certain point, all those things. And he goes, let's just get up there and do it. And I'm like, yep, 100%. So was I scared? Oh, scared shitless. Absolutely. Um, but at the same time, if we could get through that, we can get through anything. That's what
Mm.
it comes down to. So we first 2Ks pretty good. Started to hit the incline, and we left 11:15 at night. I reckon it
Mm.
was. It was around
Yeah.
11:15. We rolled out, and first couple of Ks, it's all good. Started to hit the inclines and the rocks, and within an hour of leaving, I knew full well that we probably weren't going to get through like the whole leg, like within an hour or so. And I didn't say anything to him until after the pinnacle. So that was probably about 2.5, 3 hours in at least. Um, and he's like, I said, we're not going to make it. And he's like, oh, and I'm like, no, 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 like we're not going to make it. Just on speed, I could feel it. The terrain was so technical. Um, and I'll explain a bit on how we operated in a sec, but we instantly knew. And I said, right, I want to get to Burra. That was the goal, sort of
Mm.
thing. So he goes, all right, let's go. And we went to work. So I'm emotional about it. Um, so every step, every rock, every root, every tree branch, step up, step down, left, right, stop, jump. You got 1.5 meter crevice, get on your bum and slide down this, get on your hands and knees, you name it. He spoke for 10.5 hours, non-stop.
That's more than I do on a
Insane.
finish line, mate.
I think he could talk underwater. I reckon he'd rival you, Dave.
I'm sure he
Um,
would.
so the guys like normally our communication level's pretty good and we understand he always guides me through things, even on a normal, just easy trails, all that. But as he realized as well as soon as we got up there, and it wasn't even because it was dark, like that didn't help. It didn't matter to a point for me. It actually mattered more for him because I can't see depth. So I've got no idea if it's a 6 inch step or a 2 foot step until I get there. So basically, I was in his footsteps the whole time. As his foot came up, mine was near enough down, and he was calling those steps every single time. So as he'd say something, my foot was going down and then reacting to it and then coming up and going, keep on rolling through that process for 10.5 hours. So, um, so what a normal person, I guess, running, and you guys see 5, 10 meters in front, even in the dark, you'll see a few steps in front as you go through with your torches. For me, I didn't even bother looking at the ground because I can't understand what it does. So I just sit there and wait for his call. And as my foot hits, or my hiking poles would hit, I'd go, oh, that's what that does. Okay, let's do that sort of thing, and just motion through it. And the only time I really looked down was when he said, you've got to get your feet on this one little rock or whatever it may be. And if you don't hit it dead center, we're in trouble. And I'm like, okay, cool. I better pay attention to that tiny little rock and make sure my foot or my hiking pole hits it 100%. Um, and there was times he'd jump 2 or 3 steps ahead of me, and I'd have to call him back just so I could get through those 2 or 3 steps. Um, so yeah, full process of intense mental capacity. Uh, yeah, it's just huge. So yeah,
So when we talk about putting your life in someone else's hands or being responsible for and filling out a form, mate, this is next level. How's
yeah,
his WTF moment?
yeah,
Because the patience for both of you, I imagine, like I'm hearing you describe this, and I can't begin to even fathom how much patience would be involved in that process.
yeah, yeah. Very understanding man. He understands that I want to do it. He understands that I can do it. He just has to go, what pace do we do it at to make it safe? Essentially, we have a new motto for the two of us, because he's actually my support worker. So he's the highest paid person on the course most days. And it's a standing joke. But our motto is no accidents, no paperwork. So it works for us both. Because if something happens to me, he's got a whole lot of paperwork to be filling out. But yeah, it's trust. 100% it's trust, because he's got to trust me that I'll listen and I'll do exactly, especially in a situation like that, 100% everything's on him. But then I've got to trust that he'll tell me exactly what to do and not miss a beat, because otherwise we're stuffed. And there's one moment through, it was on the decline out of Rosier's in the GPT, and he goes, you got to hug the rock. And I'm like, okay. And I did waddle that. I think it was the next day. We're driving along, and he goes, do you want to know exactly how close the edge was? And I'm like, yeah, okay. He goes, you're probably about 3 or 4 inches from your heels from falling off. And I'm like, cool, no problems. I didn't even know. I wouldn't have had a clue, sort of thing. So the ground, like there was sort of rocks and grass and stuff, and I just went, oh, that's just flat. Apparently it wasn't. It was probably a 5 or 10 meter drop. And then a roll down the rest of it. What you can't see can't hurt you sometimes. So
So,
it
so,
works.
so in that moment, how have you, like, I'm sure in that time, that 10 and a half hour, you were able to, that bond would have just
Yep. Yep.
intensified so much and tr with trust, but and to be able to craft that relationship. I know there's a hiker slash climber out of the States. I've had I've been blessed to meet him before. His name's Trevor Thomas, and he's called the Blind Hiker. His actual hiking name is 00, and that's based
Yep.
on because he's legally blind.
Yep.
And there was a movie about him several years ago, and he was following his climb lead, and he uses bells. So the climb lead
Yep.
has a bell on the back of his heels above him, and the sound, he's trained his ear because the sound ricochets off the rocks, and he's
Yep.
able then to work out the shape and feature of the rock with then his guide's explanation of what's going on. Is
Yep.
that kind of stuff now, you're now experiencing the same thing?
Yeah. Yeah. So I changes in terrain, all those things, changes in how fast Kel walks. Like if I see him pause and hear him pause in his feet, I go, okay, something's coming up, sort of thing. Or if I hear the gravelly bit, I know that it might be loose underfoot. If I hear him go thud, it's usually something solid, whether it's especially on a trail, it's going to be a rock. stuff like that. So yeah, 100%. And he had fluoro tapes on his ankles, so I could try and make out his ankles in with my torchlight. He had bright coloured shorts on so that I could see that in the night. So there was certain things done so that I had at least some sight of him at certain points. But there was moments that even with the torch, I'd lose him at a meter or two. And it's like, come back here, sort of thing. It's pretty much standard words for me. It's like, get back here, sort of thing. Um, and but yeah, it's over 10 hours. The bond was insanely developed. We had a good bond to start with, and we love a joke. And he's my support worker, but he's a mate now, 100%. And the bond is insane in how tight we are on the trails on any run. We understand each other. And when he plans to go and conquer the GPT 100 on his own, do the full stage race he's planning on, I'll be crewing him. So
Awesome.
we reverse the process. So I won't be able to do it. I won't have the capacity. Not yet anyway. We'll see. Never say never. But I'll be crewing him his first one. So yeah.
Amazing there. So the so now you have finished GPT there, like so.
Yep.
What's next? What that's looks like nothing can stop you now.
Yep. So
Um,
yeah, so what's next? I'm kicking out the little sunset series in Melbourne starting next Wednesday. Little 8K runs. First one's around the zoo, so it'll be fun. Um, I'm going to take my first marathon at Inverloch in March. It's a pretty flat road one sort of thing. I've never done a full 42 yet, so I figured I'd pick an easy road one to start with for that. But then I'm also off to New Zealand for a trek with Vision Australia, which I do a lot of work for VA with ambassador programs and etc. for that as well. Um, so I'm off to New Zealand for a 53K trek down the South Island for that, which will be amazing. Um, but the big one that's going to be the goal and providing GPTs open next year, which fingers crossed it is after the fires. Um, I'm currently in talks with the single track team to crack the 50 and do the single day 50 and just go for it. So the back end of this year is going to be training days in the Grampians. So pretty much every other week I'll be up running that course, if not in its entirety, most of it every week to learn it. So Dave, I can learn to map it.
Yes, you
So
can learn to map it. And
and
mate, you
and
pick it, and I
uh,
tell you what, you're picking one of the most challenging ones ever. And it's well, I tell you what, I mean, parts of the 50 course remain the same actually, so they weren't
yeah,
affected by the
yeah.
fires. And
Yeah,
I
and
know
it's
we've,
open for business, so we're heading out
yeah,
soon to give it our first little nudge and just see what it looks like. And the single track team are amazing, and we talk regularly about how I'm going to approach it and why and all those things. So all being well, the 50K is on the horizon for that. If it gets moved because of GPT can't operate, I'll look at attacking the GSER in November. So
um,
either way, I'm going for a big boy event.
yeah,
Um,
that is a big boy event, all of them.
yeah. So and Macedon's on the cards again to go over that because I did the 10K in 2 hours and 3 minutes last year, and I was pretty pissed off that it took over 2 hours. So I'm going back for a sub 2 hour. Um, so because I just don't want to leave it at 2 hours and 3 minutes. So yeah, and that's the stubbornness of me being wanting to do better. I just want to crack in and do it under two, and I know I will.
And then what about teaming up with the crew again, with the
So
guys from Beyond Endurance?
yeah, so Mick and I see each other regularly, which is all good, and we're always in chats. Nothing's planned as yet, but the day Mick calls me up and says, "Dale, how about a coffee?" I know something's on the horizon, because that's how it happened this time round. He gave me 2 weeks notice for the GPT. So it wasn't a pre-planned event. It was, let's have coffee, let's go do a run. I went, okay. And next thing you know, that's what happened. So when he calls me and goes, Dale, let's have coffee, I know we're on for something. So and 100% I'll be there. So we just have to figure out logistics and all that kind of stuff.
And then, and look, mate, without saying it too many times, you're an incredibly inspirational, extraordinary person. But what about leading the way in this space, in the adaptive space, particularly with low vision
Yep.
runners, hikers? Yeah, what is there anything opportunities happening there?
Yeah, so I've figured out through the last few months that there's only 3 running events in Victoria. I don't know about the rest of the country, but I'm going to say it's pretty close to the same average. That actually have an adaptive category alone, let alone VI, let alone anything else. So my aim is to push every single event that I run in, and then eventually every single event in Victoria and Australia to have an adaptive category, whether that's for a whole, so people like Mick and I run against each other, or have a separate vision impaired category and then a another category for mixed category and have proper para categories for each event. Um, that's a goal because it's incredibly difficult as a VI runner to benchmark myself because okay, I know in trail there's not many of us for a start because no one's crazy enough to go up on a mountain in the middle of the night, and sort of thing. Takes a special person apparently.
We're all a
So
bit special, mate. We're all
yeah, yeah,
very special.
yeah. But even just general events like I can, you know, I've entered into a very big marathon for later in the year, and there's no adaptive category, and I'm like, why not?
Mm,
It's simple. Why not? And they can't give me an answer. They just don't want to put a tick box on their entry form that says, are you an adaptive um, runner? And do you need a support guide or whatever? You have to email the organizers. You have to go through a process. And to me, that's not right because in this day and age, I should be able to tick a box, get a guide hooked up, and let's go. And have a category so that it says in my category, I don't care if I come first or last, but I want to know that if as a T12 athlete, which is my category in para, am I good to go? And the answer is currently no, other than 3 running events in the whole of Victoria, to my knowledge. And no one's fighting for that space. So my aim is to start pushing all the organisers every single time I do an event. I'm asking the question, why not? Sort of thing. And if they're not, I'll help. Tell me what I've got to do to help you do it. So, because I want to be benchmarked, I want to have that ability, not just for myself, but for every low vision person out there, because we can do stuff. We can go out there and hit trails. I think part of it is, I think some people, because there's no category, Dave and
mm,
Kelvin, they don't think they can go.
mm.
So, whereas I just go, you know what, I'll run with everyone else, but you know what, I'd really like my own category at the same time. So I'm happy to line up with everyone else, but can you at least give me a tick box in another category, not just male, because I'm slower because I can't see properly.
Mm.
Simple as that, especially on trails, like undoubtedly. Flat roads are still, still a little bit slower regardless. And even the fastest low vision people are going to be slower than the best sighted runners on a flat road. So why can't we have our own category? So that's where I'm headed. I'll be lobbying whoever I need to lobby to make that happen. It probably won't happen this year, but it will continually happen over the next few years, hopefully.
You mentioned VA. Have you done any work yet or tapped into the Achilles group?
Um,
Um,
yeah, so Achilles, they run their own little system and they're fantastic at what they do. They tend not to do anything in terms of the political space and rock boundaries, from what I can gather.
Right.
They won't approach an organizer. They'll just get their people entered and have a guide, and they're happy to follow the long, arduous process of, okay, we've got to email them, we've got to ask for a companion card, we've got to go through all the rigmarole, and they're not fussed on where their runners come. And they're not benchmarked. They're not fighting for that space. That's their prerogative. And so be it. That's their thing. And they won't attack. I highly doubt any of them would actually come up on a trail like GPT or anything like that, not to support someone, because the risk involved high. And I don't know if they're sort of prepared to do that sort of thing. They may. I don't know. I don't think so though. You'd have to ask them that.
I
But
mean, they're definitely well participated in a lot of yeah, road running
road
events
events, yeah,
and
yeah, they're very, very prolific in road. Because
and
it's a bit
swimming
safer.
and swimming and other sports as well. So they're across the
Yep.
broad spectrum. And I know a
Yeah.
lot. I know quite a lot of people that actually do a lot of work with Achilles and they give
Yep.
back there. And but it's interesting to hear you say that. So it's good on you for taking up that fight.
Yeah. So and again, it becomes a political fight, and I understand that. Because potentially the only way to make that change is through policy and procedure, well above any event organizer. It might come from government that you have to implement this. I don't know if that's going to be the case or not, but that's something that might have to happen. So time will tell.
Mm.
So I'll work through what I need to figure that out, and advocate not just for myself, but for pretty much the whole blind low vision community, and adaptives in general at that point.
Dale, we've said it before, Kelvin, and I'm sure you'll agree with me. We could talk to you for hours,
Thank
and
you.
I think we're going to need a follow up. We're definitely going to need a follow up podcast with you and Kel, and maybe
Yep.
how you've gone with some of your ambitions this year. That's an
Yep.
incredible image of you behind there with the Ballarat half there that
Yep.
you've shared on the screen. We have been asking, and I'm sure you've got many, but we've
Yep.
been asking all our guests that have been coming on the Cowbell, what is your Cowbell moment? What is a moment that rings true for you?
Yep. And I could pick hundreds. Probably the one I figured it out about 3 or 4 days afterwards it had happened. Um, it was GPT. We'd come off the top of Rosie's, got through probably the hardest kilometre of descent out there. It was incredibly taxing. We got onto the flowy section, and we both had a moment. And I say we because it's Kel and I, we're a team. And that was the moment. If nothing else, we'd got through the hardest 15 Ks out there.
Mm.
And we only had that little bit of downhill to go, and we were good to go. So if I had a cowbell right there, that would have been the moment. I would have been ringing it hard because we got over that insanely hard section. So yeah,
Wow.
so that'd be it. Forget the end, forget anything else, that moment.
Nice. Wow, there I am speechless to be honest, just by listening
Mm.
to your your cowbell moment and yeah, but just visualize that moment. I mean, and to be honest, Adele, I hope you will have a lot more cowbell moment and I can see you are a fighter. Like nothing can stop you. And I love the positive energy that you bring to the people around you. I mean, just by hearing like after you lost your sight and 3 days later you back to work, like that really show um, once you have commit something, like you will get it done.
Yep.
And I'm hoping that like a lot of people who are facing adversity in their life can listen to your story and be inspired and yeah, just find their cowbell moment, I would say.
Yep.
And I think
100%. And you can do anything. You just got to put your mind to it.
It's finding their WTF moment.
WTF, yes.
Yep.
That's
100%.
that's what it is. Dale, mate, how do we stop? How do we press stop? I don't want to. I want to
I
keep
don't want to
going.
do.
But
No, look, I really look. I'll finish up. I really appreciate the opportunity. It's been amazing to have a chat to you both. I'm very new to this sport. I love getting out there and the freedom of trails and running and sensory moments that have that for me. And it is a sense of freedom out there as much as it's hell on wheels some days, in terrain and all that. But it's while I've got what I have sight wise, I'm living it all. And I'm just gonna, as I said to Kelvin once, I'm just gonna let it rip. And hey, if anyone else is out there that's in that same moment, why not? Just live life, do your thing, and the rewards will come. So yeah,
Yeah, awesome.
mate, what a way to finish.
cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Dale. Like, good luck, and yeah, hopefully, yeah, we will definitely chat to you again very soon. All the best,
Yeah,
Dale.
no worries. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Cheers.